Ever get like one of those texts from a friend? You know, the kind that sends you down this rabbit hole for like an hour.
Oh, absolutely. I know those texts.
Well, that's what we're dealing with today. Someone, well, they put together this whole ranking, right, of the most mysteriously awesome places on Earth.
Mysteriously awesome. I like that. A fitting description.
And it's got everything from, that's kind of interesting, to like full on, I need a bigger tinfoil hat. The range is impressive.
And I have a feeling we'll be unpacking quite a few fascinating threads of history, folklore, and speculation along the way. So that's what we do best.
Oh, for sure. Especially, with your insights on all this stuff. Now, full disclosure, we're working strictly with what our texter friend gave us here.
No last-minute Wikipedia deep dives.
Nope. We're going in blind.ish.
That's part of the fun, though, isn't it? Keeps us on our toes.
Exactly. Okay, so they've got this whole system, right? Like tiers in a video game, but for, the world's most head-scratching locations.
A tier list of the unexplained. Intriguing.
Right. And we're starting off in, get ready for it, C tier. Logically explainable, but still kind of magical. Leading the pack, it's Stonehenge.
A classic. And for good reason. It never fails to evoke a sense of wonder.
Tell me about it. Giant stones just hanging out in a field. I mean, the basic explanations are out there. Ancient astronomy, rituals, all that. But our texter, straight to aliens.
Of course, it's the go-to for anything ancient and unexplained. Aliens did it. Has a certain ring to it, doesn't it?
It does. And I get it. You see something that old, that precise, it makes you wonder, right? Like, did those ancient civilizations have a little help from our intergalactic neighbors?
It speaks to our enduring fascination with the idea of advanced prehistoric civilizations, doesn't it? The ancient astronauts hypothesis, always a crowd pleaser.
Right. It's like, we're ancient humans way smarter than we give them credit for. Or did something else entirely happen? Big questions. All right. Next up on our Whirlwind World Tour is the Pyramids of Giza.
Ah, yes. A testament to human ambition and architectural prowess, even by today's standards.
Okay, so we know the pyramids were tombs for pharaohs. That's like History 101. But have you seen those things in person?
They're awe-inspiring, to say the least. The scale is truly difficult to grasp until you're standing right there in their shadow.
Our texture was definitely team, how did they do that? And I gotta agree, even knowing the basics, the sheer scale of them just... it makes you wonder if we're missing part of the story.
It's easy to see why those alternative theories take root. The idea that perhaps there was knowledge and technology available to the ancient Egyptians that's been lost to time. It's a tantalizing thought.
Oh, for sure. Lost technology, secret societies, you know the drill. And of course, the classic aliens did it. Explanation always finds its way in there. Speaking of lost civilizations, our last stop in explainable but still cool territory is Machu Picchu, high up in the Andes Mountains.
A site that truly captures the imagination, nestled amidst those breathtaking landscapes. It's no wonder people are drawn to its mystique.
Right. Our texture was all about the whole lost city vibe. And honestly, even with all the archaeologists studying it, it's got this feeling, like you're stepping into this hidden world, frozen in time.
It's that allure of the undiscovered, the tantalizing possibility of uncovering something truly unique. Machu Picchu, despite being well documented, still holds an air of mystery. A sense of wonder that transcends purely academic understanding.
It does. And the fact that it's perched on a mountaintop, come on, just adds to the magic. Okay, but before we book our flights to Peru, we gotta move on. Up next, we're getting into B tier, history meets the unexplained. Listeners, things are about to get a lot more interesting. All right, we're back and venturing into B tier, history meets the unexplained. Which I gotta say, this is where things start to get really good.
It's that sweet spot on the spectrum, you're right, where we move from plausible explanations into the realm of genuine mystery and speculation.
Totally. And kicking things off, we've got a location so infamous it practically has its own theme music, the Bermuda Triangle.
A place that needs no introduction,
Yeah.
yet somehow never gets old, does it?
Right. You say Bermuda Triangle, and boom, instantly everyone's picturing vanishing ships, planes falling out of the sky. Our texter went straight for the classic disappearances, which,
It's the enduring image, isn't it? Those vessels swallowed by the unknown.
it gets to you. Even with all the possible explanations we have now, still kind of creepy. Before we get too far down that path, though, can we give our listeners some coordinates? Like, where exactly are we talking about here?
So picture this. A triangle on the map. Point 1, Miami, Florida. Point 2, Bermuda. And point 3, San Juan, Puerto Rico.
Okay, so not exactly like uncharted waters, right?
And at all.
Yeah.
In fact, it's a fairly heavily trafficked area of the Atlantic Ocean.
See, that's what makes it so weird to me. It's not some remote, never visited part of the ocean. Ships and planes have been going through there for ages, yet those stories persist.
The allure of a good maritime mystery is hard to deny, especially one that unfolds against a backdrop as vast and unforgiving as the open ocean. Despite being a real charted location, the Bermuda Triangle still holds on to that aura of the unexplained, of forces beyond our control.
Okay, but I feel like we've hit on something here. This is our first B-tier location, and it seems like what makes it different from the C-tier stuff is, well, the explanations we do have aren't always satisfying enough, you know? Like with the pyramids, we know how they were built, just not exactly how. There's still room for wonder. But with the Bermuda Triangle, the mystery itself is more front and center.
That's an astute observation. And it speaks to how our relationship to these more ambiguous locations shifts as we move up the tiers. It's not just about marveling at ancient civilizations anymore, it's about confronting the possibility that there are forces at play we may not fully comprehend, forces that defy easy categorization or explanation.
Which, I'll be honest, that's way more interesting to me. All right, our next stop on the Unexplained Express is definitely leaning into those forces we don't get vibes. Mount Shasta in California.
Ah, Mount Shasta, a majestic peak shrouded in more than just mist and legend.
Right. On the surface, it's a volcano, which is already pretty cool.
On the surface being the operative phrase.
Because our texture, they threw in a twist. Lemurians.
Of course. Because a volcano is not interesting enough on its own, right? We have to add in a lost civilization.
Right. Apparently, Mount Shasta is less about molten rock these days and more about being a gateway to this whole other civilization, just like living inside of it.
A tale as old as time, or at least as old as our fascination with lost continents and hidden civilizations. Lemuria, often compared to Atlantis and its allure and its lack of tangible proof, has captivated imaginations for centuries. And Mount Shasta, with its imposing presence and air of mystique, has become a focal point for those who believe this civilization not only existed, but continues to thrive beneath its rocky facade.
So Lemuria, real place, tall tale, or somewhere in between. What's the expert verdict?
Like so many myths and legends, there's often a kernel of truth buried within the fantastical. While the physical continent of Lemuria hasn't been discovered, and believe me, people have looked, the persistence of these stories across cultures suggests something deeper at play. Well, the idea of a lost paradise, a civilization possessing knowledge and wisdom far surpassing our own, it speaks to a very human longing. It's the same impulse that draws us to stories of Atlantis, of El Dorado, of Shangri-La. This yearning for a connection to something ancient, something pure, something lost to the ravages of time and the supposed failings of our modern world.
So even if there aren't actual, hidden cities beneath our feet, the idea itself, the possibility, that's what keeps these stories alive.
Exactly. We're wired for story, for narrative, for explanations that make sense of a world often filled with chaos and uncertainty. And sometimes those narratives, even if not literally true, reveal a deeper truth about who we are, what we fear, and what we hope for.
I like that. Okay, last stop in History plus Mysteryland, and it's a classic, Easter Island.
Ah, yes, home to those enigmatic stone sentinels, the Moai.
No way we could skip those giant heads. Our texture was all about the isolation of Easter Island. Like you pull up a map and it's just this tiny speck in the middle of the Pacific Ocean.
A pinprick of volcanic rock in a vast expanse of blue.
And then you realize people managed to carve, transport, and erect those massive statues with seemingly limited resources.
Yes.
It's incredible.
It's a testament to human ingenuity and determination, that's for sure.
But here's where I get tripped up. If you're on this island, basically in the middle of nowhere, and you decide, you know what we should do? Giant stone heads. Wouldn't you need more, stuff, more people, more tools, more everything? The isolation makes it amazing, but it also makes those logistical questions so much bigger.
It's a puzzle, there's no doubt about it. And it's that very lack of definitive answers that makes Easter Island so endlessly fascinating. It's a blank slate onto which we project our own interpretations, our own theories about ancient civilizations, lost knowledge, and the limits of human capability.
And maybe, just maybe, a little bit of help from our alien friends.
Oh, we had to bring them back, didn't we?
Listen, I'm just saying aliens make everything more interesting. But before we spiral too far down that rabbit hole, let's take a quick break. When we come back, a tier. Well-documented weirdness. That's hard to prove. Listeners, get ready to question everything, because things are about to get truly strange. We are back, and Okay, after that last segment, I am ready. Our texter called this next category S tier and beyond. Hold on to your reality.
A bold claim. Though I have a feeling, based on what we've seen so far, they might be onto something.
Right. Even I don't know what to expect here, which is saying something. So no rankings, no order. We're just diving right into the deep end. First up, Lake Baikal in Siberia.
The world's deepest lake, holding something like 20% of the planet's unfrozen freshwater, and of course, shrouded in mystery and local legends, as these things tend to be.
Well, and I've always said this. A deep lake is inherently a little spooky. You don't know what's down there.
The human imagination abhors a vacuum, especially a watery one.
Exactly. And our texter was hitting all the notes. Creature sightings, strange lights, rumors of sunken ruins. It's like anything that taps into that fear of the unknown underwater. Lake Baikal's got it.
It's a primal fear, isn't it? That sense of vastness, of things hidden beneath the surface, just beyond our reach. It goes back centuries, millennia even. Think about all the myths and legends across cultures of sea monsters, of serpent deities, of entire kingdoms swallowed by the waves.
And Lake Baikal, with its depth, its age, its unique ecosystem, it's almost like a prime candidate for that kind of mythology, even today. But speaking of ancient and awe-inspiring, let's move from water to, well, something a little different. We're going full Indiana Jones on this next one, but maybe with a bit more meditation involved. We're talking about the concept of Agartha and Shambhala.
Ah, yes, the mythical inner earth kingdoms, always a crowd pleaser. The idea that beneath our feet, hidden from sight, lies a whole other world, inhabited by advanced civilizations who, for whatever reason, decided, surface world, no thanks.
Our texter was spot on. It's crazy how many cultures have this idea of a hidden world inside our own.
Why do you think that is? What is it about digging down instead of looking up that makes us think there's something secret down there?
It's a question that has fascinated philosophers and theologians for ages, hasn't it? Perhaps it's a reflection of our own inner landscapes, this idea that beneath the surface of our conscious minds, something profound and ancient resides. Or maybe it's a yearning for a lost connection, a belief that somewhere, hidden from the chaos and conflict of the surface world, there exists a place of peace, of harmony, of enlightenment.
So instead of aliens in the sky, we've got wiser beings beneath our feet. I like it. All right, final stop on our world tour of the incredibly weird, and it might just be the most intriguing yet, Rennes-le-Château in France. Rennes-le-Château. A sleepy little village in the south of France, harboring secrets that would make Dan Brown blush.
Our texter called it a Dan Brown novel come to life, and honestly, that's the perfect way to put it. We've got a mysterious priest, whispers of hidden treasure, possible ties to the Holy Grail, Mary Magdalene, the Knights Templar. It's like someone took all the best conspiracy theory ingredients and mixed them into one little village.
And what makes Rennes-le-Château so captivating is that, unlike some of the other locations we've discussed, there's a tangible element of mystery here. The priest, Béranger Saunière, he was a real person. He did find something that made him inexplicably wealthy, and the mysteries surrounding his discoveries, the coded messages, the strange symbols, those are real too.
It's like a real-life treasure hunt. And, what's more exciting than the idea that there are still secrets out there, hidden in plain sight, just waiting to be discovered, that somewhere, someone has the key to unlocking it all.
It's a tantalizing thought, isn't it? And it speaks to that part of us, that innate human curiosity that drives us to explore, to question, to seek answers, even in the most unlikely of places.
It's what we've been doing this whole time. From Stonehenge to hidden cities, from the ocean depths to, well, potentially back down into the earth, we have covered some serious ground today.
We have, and through it all, I think we've touched on something truly fundamental about the human experience, haven't we? This innate desire to believe in something beyond the mundane, something extraordinary, something magical.
And whether you find that magic in ancient ruins, in unexplained phenomena, or even just in the power of a good story well told, that's up to you. This has been The Deep Dive, reminding you to get curious, stay skeptical, and always keep exploring. Because the world, my friends, is a much stranger and more wonderful place than we often give it credit for.